Hi, I'm Kesenya and welcome to this week's Astro Weather Report. Thank you so much for joining me. We've got a very interesting week. We're looking at the full moon in Scorpio and it's a super moon this week. We're also looking at Saturn turning retrograde. That's a biggie. But before we get going, I want to say thank you to everybody who placed orders for my Soul Destiny reading that I'm offering on special at the moment. Thank you so much. I have been absolutely overwhelmed with the response and I'm feeling a little bit like I'm spinning with the amount of interest there's been in that reading. And that followed on from the video that I did with Lada at Astrolada and last week, which I'll put a link to here if you want to check it out. It was a really interesting discussion we had about current world events seen through the lens of astrology, and also looking at how to tell what your destiny is in a soulful way, in a spiritual way, not just, oh, it's a career, I need to be CEO of the company, but what is my soul mission, my destiny, my life purpose? So we talked a lot about that. So if you haven't checked out that video, do so. But yes, I have had so many orders for readings that I'm now feeling a little bit overwhelmed, quite honestly. So yeah, happy to keep the orders coming, but just know that there might be a bit of a wait time. There's quite a big wait time because of the amount of orders I've received. And I am only one person. I'm only human. So, yeah, thank you. Thank you to everybody. The other thing that I have been wanting to share for quite some time is that I do have banner ads appearing on my videos, and I do not choose which ads show up. And a lot of the time I see them and I think, oh my God, I don't approve of the type of ads that they're actually showing on there. So please don't think that I have had anything to do with the ads that they're showing on those banner ads. And I'd encourage you not to click on them. But I do feel that banner ads are better than ads prior to the video. Because I know how annoyed I get when I've got to sit through 3 or 4 ads just to get to the video that I want to watch. So I avoid doing that. The banner ads are there, let them play, but don't click through on them. Some of them are ridiculous. Okay, or at least they are where I am in the world. And now for the real stuff we're here for, the weather report. What an interesting week. As I said, we've got the full moon happening in the sign of Scorpio. Here is the moon up here sitting opposite the sun, conjunct with Mercury at this for this full moon, which is quite often the case. Mercury and the sun are often very close together in the sky. But the sun is in Taurus and the moon is in Scorpio, sitting opposite. Now this is the fruition on May the 7th when this occurs. This is the fruition of the event 2 weeks ago, which I talked about in another of my videos quite extensively, where we had a new moon in Taurus, and that was a doozy. Everyone I've spoken to, all my clients, all my friends, all my family, and myself felt that kick-ass new moon in such an intense way. And I went back and revisited my video that I made, and I'll pop the link here for you. I went back and revisited my video that I made, and even I was flabbergasted with the accuracy of what happened under that sky, under that new moon. It was a powerful new moon, very, very powerful. And so we're reaching the fullness of that this week, the fruition of that, those energies. What was started 2 weeks ago is reaching its culmination point now on May the 7th. Now it's also a super moon. This means that the moon is at its closest point in the sky to the Earth, so the distance is at its minimum that the moon will get. And just for interest's sake, in case you weren't aware, the moon is getting further and further away from the Earth by about 3 centimeters or so a year. And so, eventually, in a couple of thousand years' time, the moon's going to be a lot further away than it is now. And a couple of thousand years ago, the moon was a lot closer than what it is now, because it's gradually pulling away from the hold of the Earth's gravity. Fascinating. But for now, it's at its closest point to us in the sky. So it's a super moon, and it's the 3rd super moon we're having in a row. So this is the 3rd super moon for this year, making it quite powerful. Now, it's happening in the sign of Scorpio, and Scorpio is renowned for its intensity. It's the most intense sign. It's deep, it's full on, it's ruled by Pluto, which is almost a planet that you just can't fight. And you know those feelings that you get where you're overwhelmed by them, you just can't fight those feelings. Might be feelings of love or anger or rage, or those passionate feelings that you cannot control no matter how much of a will of steel you put into it. Well, that's the feeling of Scorpio. The intensity, the passion, the feelings that are almost uncontrollable. All full moons in water signs are full on, because water signs are feeling signs. They're about our emotions. So water signs are full moons that occur in Pisces, in Cancer, and the most intense emotional ones of them all are the full moons that we experience in Scorpio water sign. So we're really going to feel the intensity of this one. And as I said, full moons represent fruition, fullness, and a finishing stage, because the moon was new back here in Taurus 2 weeks ago, and it's been growing till its fullest it's going to be at the closest point it is to the earth. And then we have a full moon, and then the moon begins to fade and get smaller and smaller. So it's at its fullest capacity now, and we reach that, like I said, the fruition of what happened 2 weeks ago and the causes and effects of what happened in our lives 2 weeks ago. So I ask you, what happened 2 weeks ago in your life, thereabouts? What did you feel? What were you going through? Did you have fights with relatives or fights with loved ones? Did you experience inner aggression that came out and expressed itself outwardly through some event or some emotion? Did you find that you had anger coming out of nowhere and you couldn't explain it, and the feelings that you had resulted in maybe a breakup with a partner, maybe resulted in an angry outburst like you've never experienced before with a family member? Maybe you experienced a deciding that I can't hack this job anymore, you can take your job and shove it kind of experience, or could have been anything. But we found at the new moon in Taurus last week there was a lot of volatility that probably we weren't expecting. If we were looking at the fact that it was in Taurus, Taurus is calm, Taurus is stable, steady, likes to maintain the status quo. That's the energy of Taurus. So on the surface, we may not have been looking for that volatility, but there were some serious heavy-duty aspects involved in last week's moon. In the new moon 2 weeks ago. And that has caused a lot of friction that kind of have been lying underneath the surface for the ensuing 2 weeks up until this point of the new moon, of the full moon. So what is this full moon going to do? It's going to shine a spotlight on the issues that were raised 2 weeks ago. So quite literally, the moon is going to be full, and when the moon is full, sometimes it is so bright that it casts shadows on the earth, and we can see without a torchlight in the evenings, especially if we're out in rural areas, where we don't have any light pollution. We can sort of go for a walk in the moonlight, and it's almost as clear as day. And so really that energy of shining a light onto something that's been hidden, on something that's been dark, on something that's been repressed, that is part of full moon energy. But not only that, it's in the sign of Scorpio, which is about hidden things, mysteries, secrets. So what can we expect with this full moon? We can expect it's going to shine a light on the hidden feelings and emotions and motivations that we had surrounding those issues 2 weeks ago. That's going to be illuminated. But also we might find in the larger world, hidden things come to the light. Hidden things are exposed. Secrets are now illuminated, and things are revealed under this full moon. So personally, we need to watch out for old arguments coming up again. Things that we thought we dealt with 2 weeks ago, they might be relived in order for us to finalize them and finish them properly. And how can we deal with this? Well, we can use our Mercury as part of this conjunction to talk things out. Now, I'm going to talk more about Mercury in just a minute, but what I need to say is that issues of trust are very important where Scorpio is concerned in your chart. And so this full moon in Scorpio does highlight Not only secrets and mysteries being revealed and so forth, but issues of trust. Can you trust the situation that you're in? Is it what it appears to be? Is it, can you put your faith in this particular circumstance, person, issue, situation in life? Ask yourself these questions, because issues of trust, like I said, are very big with the energy of Scorpio. So in that light, I'd encourage you perhaps to find someone you trust and talk with them about the hurts and the issues and the anger and the frustrations and so on that might be present in your life that are now being exposed, that are now being revealed. Because talking is very good. Mercury is involved here in this little full moon, and also the moon is in Scorpio, the sign of therapy, the sign of getting the inner feelings out and to be expressed and explored and understood, psychoanalyzed. I've made an appointment with my psychoanalyst this week to go through some things for me. It's a great time to do this underneath this energy of the full moon. It definitely has to happen. And the more you can focus your energy on therapy, like talking it out with somebody, with a friend, with a psychoanalyst, with a therapist of some sort, the more you can go into that space, the more you're going to resolve these old issues and that came up, might be karmically from past lives, might be just stuff that you've been repressing for a long time now, and it's bubbled to the surface under the energy of the new moon that occurred. So that's one way that we can deal with this in a healthy context. Make intention. Don't fly off the handle with these intense feelings all of a sudden. Be proactive about it. Be sort of intentional about how you're going to address these things. Now, one of the good things that's happening with this full moon is that we've got this lovely little sextile. Whoops, excuse my wobbly hand there. Lovely sextile from Neptune in Pisces to the Sun and Mercury as part of this full moon energy. So essentially what we're getting here is a wedge shape. And wedge shapes are wonderful. I'll show you what a wedge shape is. That's a trine and that is an opposition. So we're going to have this wedge shape. And this means that when a wedge shape appears in a chart, there is some tension, obviously, and in full moons, we're feeling tension between the masculine energy of the sun and the feminine energy of the moon. And what I mean by that is within us, our masculine, feminine tendencies or capacities, our softness on one side and our need to excel on the other can be in polarity to one another. We need to integrate the two opposites in every full moon, and that can be the two different sides of ourselves. So that's the tension with every full moon that we can experience, the opposite energies of represented by the sign, the house, and the moon and the sun themselves. Now, with the wedge, this indicates a sextile to a planet on one side and a trine to a planet on another. And the planet at the head of the wedge there, Neptune in this case, is our way out. It's our salvation. It's our opportunity to get out of the tension, to alleviate the pressure. So what is Neptune going to do at this time? Well, it's going to increase our psychic awareness. I mean, the moon is a terribly psychic planet. If you've got the moon strongly placed in your chart, then you are likely to have fabulous psychic intuition. And also Mercury is how we think. So with the Neptune connecting positively to both of these planets, and Neptune's phenomenally psychic. It's a connection to the angelic realms, the divine realms. And so our connection, our mind connection, our feeling connection is to the divine realms is going to be really switched on. The dial is turned right up. We are going to feel very intuitive at this time. Neptune is compassion. It's unconditional love. So by approaching our tense situations with compassion and with an energy of unconditional love and forgiveness and embracing, we're going to be able to resolve any issues that have cropped up with love, with kindness. I mean, how much better can you get than to resolve tensions and anger and frustrations with an energy of love, to choose love over aggression, to choose love over frustration. I mean, it is the ultimate. So we're going to have the ability to work through our problems with sensitivity now. Neptune is sensitive, and with forgiveness. Perfect. I'd encourage you over the next few days as we move towards this full moon to check in on your dream life. What are you dreaming about? There are messages in your dreams. Many, many messages in your dreams, and they'll be quite intense. And just for those of you who are getting on in years and have the dreams have sort of stopped, they tend to be more frequent when we're younger. I'd encourage you to take cod liver oil for that, because it helps sort of lubricate the mind so that it's freed to be able to, receive visions, receive dreams. So a little tip there. But observe your dreams over the next few days, because they will be very intuitive, they will be very profound, and they'll have messages from spirit for you because of the Neptune influence on what's happening in the sky right now. These dreams, they will be very intuitive, and they will be a guiding light from the divine. You might even like to start, doing some yoga practice or some meditation practice as well, because that is also another way to receive messages from the divine that'll just come to you. Wisdom that's just from the angels. This sextile from Neptune to Mercury represents the ability to heal. Neptune is a very healing planet, and it's in Pisces, a very healing sign right now. So the ability to heal. Water signs are very, very healing. The ability to heal now through our words, Mercury, and through our practical actions, the use of our hands. So using our words that can help heal situations, put balm on situations, and using our hands can actually be another method we can use to heal and provide balm to situations. So you might like to, use your hands to cook something or paint something or make a card for somebody in order to express to them, hey, I'm sorry, or please forgive me, or let's restart over again and start fresh, or whatever message that you need to give of compassion. Not only that, you can use your verbal words as well to do that. You might like to even give a foot rub. Pisces and Neptune in its rulership of Pisces has to do with the feet, and Mercury has to do with using the hands. So you might like to give your partner a bit of a foot rub as a peace offering of some sort. And of course, my favorite, romance. Neptune in Pisces is very romantic, and so if you can take action, actively seek to be romantic with your words, with your speech, with the way you're thinking, with the practical application, what you do with your hands, you can create more peace, more gentleness. And don't we all need some of that? Now, that's not just applying to you if you're in a relationship or you're dating or you're married or something, but it's romance that you can give yourself, or just that kindly gesture. Leave a little chocolate heart on on your work colleague's desk with a sticky note that says thanks for your support, or something like that. I mean, that could easily be a romantic gesture that doesn't actually mean how you want to jump into bed with someone. So romance does not have to be I find too much emphasis is put on the whole romantic thing being to do with love, but really a beautiful poppy field under a gorgeous blue sky, that's a romantic sight. Or having a picnic out in the open air, that's a romantic thing to do. It doesn't matter who you're with. So when I talk about romance, it's really making life more beautiful, more captivating, more magical, and that's what Neptune's all about. So do that for other people in your vicinity at this time, and expect the blessing that comes from this under the full moon. Now, while we are talking a little there about love and how romance doesn't necessarily mean it ties into love, but I do want to talk about love. And that is that if you happen to be, let's say, Scorpio Rising, I'll put my little rising tag on there just so we know what we're doing here. If you happen to be Scorpio Rising or Taurus Rising, then there is a possibility under this full moon in your rising signs, can go either way, Taurus or Scorpio, that you could meet a new lover now under this influence. The full moon can bring the fruition of that. Not only that, but if you do happen to meet a new lover, I mean, it all depends on your own personal natal chart and how geared it is to be receptive to this full moon energy, but it is possible. And you may meet somebody and it might feel fated, Neptune, fated. It might feel like a soulmate connection. Neptune rules soulmates. It might feel destined, predestined, like it was meant to be, like, where have you been all my life? I've been looking for you all my life. So if you happen to have that on the falling on the axis of relationship, there's a chance that and you're looking for partnership, that is. Obviously, if you're in a happy relationship, you're not going to be doing that. But if you're looking for relationship, it can actually quite fatedly manifest for you under this influence, this strong and beautiful influence of this week's full moon. But look, guys, that's not the only thing that's happening this week. And of course, I need to talk about the other astrological influences that are going on. I'm going to talk about Saturn going retrograde. Here is Saturn down here in Aquarius, about to turn backwards and look to us on Earth like he's going to move reversing in the sky, reversing up. He's not really. It just looks that way to us here on planet Earth. So that's about to happen on the 11th of May. Get ready for that one. And I will talk in greater depth next week about that energy and how it will affect us personally and individually. So tune in for next week's Astro Weather Report to hear all about that. But just in brief, from May the 11th, Saturn going retrograde can give certain energies, and I want to talk about what that's going to mean for us. Now, I'm not going to go into world events, which is known as mundane astrology, because that's not my real area of expertise. I'm interested in it. I'm curious about it. But my area of expertise is personal astrology. How are things affecting you on a personal level? How are they affecting me on a personal level? So I'm not the big mundane astrologer. But Saturn going retrograde means that we suddenly find it difficult to put boundaries in place. Saturn is boundaries, Saturn is restrictions, Saturn is blockages. And when Saturn goes retrograde, suddenly we find it hard. Where, saying no might have been easy for us. And then Saturn goes retrograde, and I don't know what the parameters are. What do I really want here? What are my limitations? What will I not go beyond? Where am I drawing the line? That becomes very hard to do under the energy of Saturn retrograde. And if you've got Saturn retrograde in your natal chart, that can be an ongoing issue in your life as well. So it's hard to set limits when Saturn is retrograde. We don't know our own limitations. We don't know our boundaries. It's hard to say no. There can also be a bit of a shirking of responsibility, because Saturn is responsibility and duty and meeting the expectations. Well, suddenly when Saturn goes retrograde and the energy of Saturn is turned within, we actually don't, we might not know what our responsibilities are anymore. We don't know what our duties are. We're a bit unclear about those sorts of things, and it can look or feel like we are not meeting our expectations, or that we're shirking our duties and responsibilities. Sometimes we see people with Saturn retrograde in their charts. Sometimes, not all the time, depends on a few other factors. But for example, you might see a guy who's got Saturn retrograde and he's quite happy for the woman in a partnership to carry all the responsibility for child raising, earning the money, cleaning the house, and he'll just go and watch the football on weekend and sit there with the TV remote the rest of the time. Saturn retrograde, that sort of shirking of responsibilities. Of course, it can go the other way as well in a chart where the wife is a kept woman and she stays home eating chocolates and watching Days of Our Lives. I don't even know if Days of Our Lives is still running anymore. But being a kept woman while the husband's out there trying to, earn all the money that she just goes and spends, shirking responsibilities in partnership that we can see when Saturn goes retrograde. So that can happen in a natal chart. It doesn't always, but that's one of the things, and I'm just using that as an illustration of how we can neglect our responsibilities, or not see our responsibilities, or not realize what our responsibilities are when Saturn is retrograding. So that can be the case. All these things we might see playing out in our personal lives over the duration of Saturn's retrograde motion. Not only that, we might see it in society as well. People not doing what they're meant to do, not meeting the expectations. They don't know what the boundaries are, or they are, unconscious of what the boundaries are. So do be careful in this year of COVID-19. As we head into Saturn retrograde, we might not be seeing the end of things yet. Yes, the restrictions are lifting. There's a lot of talk about this happening, and in Australia, talk of that happening on the 11th of May. I think in France as well, that's occurring. The 11th of May, no coincidences that Saturn is going retrograde at this time. And so the restrictions and blockages that have been put on us are now lifting. Yes, that's one thing. We need to be very careful, though, that at this time of Saturn retrograde, that individual people are not shirking their responsibilities to, wash their hands or be clean or do what they need to do. It's like we don't want to see a case where the restrictions lift and everybody is running out there, and going crazy with their new freedom because they've been locked up in lockdown for so long. So we still need caution, and we still need to know and understand where the boundaries are and the restrictions are for our own well-being. Don't lose sight of those things under Saturn retrograde. But as I said, I'll be talking more about Saturn retrograde and what it means personally in each sign next week, in next week's video. I just didn't have time to cover it all in this week. So do tune in for that one. Also, next week, we're seeing Venus go retrograde. Now, I've done an extensive video on what that means. I'll put the link here for you. And that is look, I'm quite proud of that video with the amount of information that is there about what it means to have Venus retrograde. It also talks about what it means to have Venus retrograde in your own chart personally. Also the mythologies around Venus. There's a lot of fascinating information in that video. So do check that out, because I won't be going into as much depth in my weekly videos with Venus retrograde. I'll be directing you to that video to get the deep information about this year's Venus retrograde in Gemini. So that will also be happening on the 13th next week. But let's talk now for each sign about the full moon in Scorpio and what it's going to mean. Well, let's start with Scorpio. You guys can go first. So for Scorpio people, if you happen to have Scorpio Rising or Scorpio Sun or Scorpio Moon, Rising's the most influential in whole sign astrology, which is the system that I use. Rising's the most influential, but you can look at the other two. They will have some information that might be valuable for you. So this week is about resolving and reaching a fruition with issues that were established 2 weeks ago under the new moon in Taurus, which is your 7th house. So 7th house issues might have come up for you 2 weeks ago. You might have had problems with a spouse or a business partner. There might have been some anger and aggression in those realms. Now it's a chance to resolve those issues with a spouse, with a partner, with the, as I said in the intro, with the unconditional love, with the intuition and support from the divine coming from Neptune, using sensitive words, being compassionate and considerate and kind. You can resolve the issues now that popped up with spouses, with relationships, maybe with trade and business as well, which is also a 7th house energy. You might be able to, with love and kindness and compassion, start to see an end to some of the animosities that were created under the new moon now. Okay, let's move on. Sagittarius rising, or sun, or moon. Remember, you can use all three. Well, this energy of the new moon 2 weeks ago occurred for you in the 6th house. So there might have been dealings with some enemies or some haters, or you might have had some anger or aggression with sort of in a work situation, or frustration over poverty or disease or illness in some way, either in your life or in the life of somebody else around you. And there was some tenseness there, some anger there under the new moon 2 weeks ago. So now you're reaching the fullness of that experience. It's reaching its culmination and its fruition, and you have the chance now to resolve any animosities, any difficulties, any hurts and wounds that occurred under that energy with compassion. The energy of Neptune playing into this full moon, with compassion, with unconditional love, with kindness. Maybe sensitivity and sensitive words can be used as well to heal and to put balm on any wounds that were created. So there is an opportunity now to use your intuition and heal the wounds that might have been created 2 weeks ago. The next sign, Capricorn Rising. Well, guys, whoopsies. Capricorn peeps, you have had this full, or you will have rather, the full moon energy falling on the axis of the 11th house up here, full moon, and the 5th house where the sun will be, sitting opposite one another. So if you happen to be Capricorn Rising or Sun or Moon, you can apply it to any, you'll feel the energy of fruition now regarding what occurred 2 weeks ago in your 5th house. So there might have been frustrated, angry words at your children, or you absolutely lost your shit with your lover, or there might have been a feeling of just, I'm so over my particular hobby or source of creative expression because I just am banging my head up against a brick wall trying to get somewhere with this, and I'm so over it. And that feeling of frustration and anger with any of those realms of life is now reaching its culmination point under the energy of the new moon, the full moon. But the full moon is a blessing this time round because we've got Neptune helping us. Neptune will be sending good influences out for this dynamic. And so we're going to be able to resolve any animosity with our children or with our lovers through kind words, through unconditional love, through compassion, through use of our intuition. We're going to get answers to our creative blocks, perhaps through our dreams, through our visions, through actual visualizations as well. And intuition and support from the divine comes in now to help us resolve all these problems that might have popped up 2 weeks ago under the new moon. So that is a gift and a blessing. Use your sensitive words, use your compassion and kindness, and you'll see healing in those areas. If we if we are Aquarius rising or sun or moon, you can use all three, but the rising is the most influential. This energy fell in the 4th house of the new moon 2 weeks ago, 4th house of family, heritage, roots and lineage and the mother, and the full moon's falling in the 10th house of career. What does this mean? Well, this moon is the fruition. The full moon is the fruition of what occurred 2 weeks ago. So what happened with you, with family 2 weeks ago, with mothers, with siblings, with your children, sort of any family dynamics that were put under pressure and intensity 2 weeks ago, with issues to do with your home and place of living that came up 2 weeks ago that became difficult or uncomfortable under the difficult new moon that we had. Well, all those issues are going to be not necessarily resolved, but there's a calling for you to address them and finalize them and heal them now under this very intense, full of feeling Scorpio moon, full moon. So the way to do this, and we've got the opportunity now, the way to heal those things is through Neptune's energy, which is this providing this support to us now from the divine. Neptune is the divine realms, the healing realms, the angelic realms. So we're going to get intuition now on how to heal things in those areas that were exacerbated 2 weeks ago. We're going to be able to provide unconditional love. Neptune is unconditional love and compassion to those people that we might have argued with or who were difficult to us. We can provide healing balm through our words now. Mercury is involved. Mercury is words. We can provide, there might be something in our dreams that comes through that's a message from spirit to guide us to heal, to guide us to restore and make right. So this is an opportunity for healing and blessing under this full moon to wrap up the woundings that occurred 2 weeks ago. So it's a lot of blessing in this, provided we utilize this Neptune energy of spiritual wisdom and unconditional love and kindness and compassion to heal things. And I talked more about that in the intro if you want to go into more depth. So if you happen to be Pisces rising, well, last week last week, or 2 weeks ago rather, under the influence of the new moon. The new moon occurred in the 3rd house, and the full moon is occurring in your 8th house. No, 9th house. Sorry, get my bearings. 9th house. So the full moon is indicating a fruition of something that happened 2 weeks ago under the new moon energy. And that will have been some volatility surrounding 3rd house issues. So if you run your own business, there might have been some anger or some frustration or some bullying that occurred in your small business, or you just dealing with really obnoxious people. Believe me, that's happened to me over the last 2 weeks as the fruition of this moon has taken place. So I've been dealing with, difficult, angry, aggressive, frustrated people in my small business. 3rd house. And hopefully I'm counting on the universe that this will reach its end now under the energy of the full moon. But it might have been siblings that you had difficulty with. You might have had an angry exchange with a sibling. You might have lost your shit or sent a text or just, verbally abused, or they might have verbally abused you. You might have had some difficult situations with a sibling, with, teammates, playmates, work colleagues, that sort of thing are often seen by the 3rd house as well. You might have had frustrated difficulties with learning, with teaching, with short travels, being able to take short travels. You might have had some problems there with taking short trips. There might have been some frustrations around taking short trips. There might have been some frustrations around any marketing endeavors, any promotional endeavors you've been trying to do as well, and it's just been annoying. Well, let me tell you that under the influence of this full moon, you can reach the fruition of all that energy. And we have the chance now to deal with it with compassion, to deal with it with love, because our ruling planet, Neptune, it rules Pisces, is making these beautiful, supportive wedge aspects to the moon and to the sun and Mercury. And we can now heal through Neptunian high level power, which is using our very good intuition, trusting our dreams and the messages that come through to us in our dreams, using visualizations to send love and healing, using compassion, unconditional love, kindness. These are higher energies of Neptune now. Using soft, gentle words can really resolve difficulties and situations now. Being patient, being just generally all those beautiful, divine, godly qualities, if you want to call them that, of love seen by Neptune and this influence. We get support from the divine now, ideas that come from the divine, inspiration that comes from the divine to help us resolve the woundings and the issues that occurred for us 2 weeks ago under the new moon. So if we are Aries rising, the influence of the new moon occurred for us 2 weeks ago in the sign of Taurus, the 2nd house. So this is where we probably had some sort of, and we can apply this to, Aries rising, sun or moon, I just need to say, for those who aren't aware of that. So the issues that occurred under the new moon 2 weeks ago will have brought volatility or anger or aggression or frustration to the realm of the 2nd house, being able to make money, being able to create resources and stability and safety and security, being able to feel a sense of self-worth within us over a certain situation. That's where we could have felt really unstable and shaky and like our emotions were off the Richter scale in those areas. Lots of frustration under that new moon. Now, our chance this week comes to resolve that, to finalize that, to reach the fruition under the full moon of this energy. And how can we resolve these things? How can we reach a really good state of fruition, of fullness? By channeling Neptune energy. So lovely. By using kind, compassionate, loving words. The energy of Neptune is unconditional love and compassion. Using that, being forgiving. That's another way. By trusting our intuition now. Neptune and the moon as well, plus Mercury involved as well, can give us a good sense of intuition. Trusting that our dreams are actually wisdom from the divine, trying to guide us with our choices and our decisions now. So trusting those things, being able to, to tune in, meditate, pray, and realize what Spirit is trying to tell us to do and take action about that. You Aries people are very, very good at taking action over your inspirations. So do that now, and you can find a lot of healing can come for whatever occurred for you 2 weeks ago under the new moon. The other thing we're looking at now for Taurus rising, as I said in the intro, there is a chance of soulmate love entering in for Taurus rising people, if that's what they're looking for and praying for and hoping for. That can happen under this influence. For some people, especially if their chart has the right alignments. But generally speaking, 2 weeks ago, Taurus people had a new moon energy activating their first house. And this would have caused frustration at the self, annoyance at the self, maybe, just feeling down on yourself, feeling like I just can't get it right. I can't get ahead in life. I'm having trouble surviving and thriving. There's difficulty. And this energy of the new moon was one of frustration and tension and unexpected events that caused us to tear our hair out. So that happened 2 weeks ago. Now is the chance to reach the fullness of that, the fruition of it, the end of it. And if we handle it wisely, then we can walk away having grown a lot through this experience. And how do we handle it wisely? How do we put a good energy of fulfillment into this 2 week period? We look at the Neptune that is sending kindly aspects to this full moon. How do we do that? We practice unconditional love. That's unconditional love to ourselves, kindness to ourselves, compassion for ourselves. Speak to your inner child, encourage your inner child, build your inner child up with kind words, loving words, patient words, just as you would for a little child who, actually in your environment. You wouldn't come down hard on the little child who's struggled and who's down on themselves. You'd show them love. You'd show them kindness. You've got to do that to yourself now, Taurus people. Take some time to, indulge in what feels good to you, what makes you happy. Also trust your intuition now. Neptune is divine intuition. Neptune is to give you dreams that are messages from the divine. Now that could be a dream that comes to you in a meditative session or a yoga session or something, or it can be a nighttime dream. But trust your dreams right now. They are a message from Spirit for you. And also you can expect to receive fated things that are support from the divine for your life right now. That might be a fated meeting with a friend who helps you out and encourages you and inspires you. It might be a fated meeting with a new love. It might be some sort of divine intervention that helps and supports you now on your journey that we can see. All right, if we are Gemini rising, well then, whoopsies, what's going on is that the full moon is falling on the 12th house, 6th house axis. And for you guys, if you're Gemini sun, moon, or rising, 2 weeks ago, we had a new moon in your 12th house. So this is where you will have felt some anger, some aggression, some upset, some frustration, some unexpected events that just sent you wobbly. That occurred in your 12th house. So it could have been to do with your creative processes, that suddenly you felt blockages or things weren't coming together the way you wanted to with certain creative endeavors or, creative writing or filmmaking or whatever it happens to be that you're into. You might have felt some blockages or from some frustration that's actually a karmic influence. 12th house is our past lives, and you mightn't have realized that's what's going on. You might have just been frustrated for reasons you couldn't pinpoint or you couldn't understand, and you're looking for somewhere to pin the blame, but you can't see anywhere to pin the blame. It could just be that past life stuff was activated for you under this new moon. Old attitudes, old beliefs, old habits that just bubbled up in you, and you're like, oh shit, not that again. So that new moon can have brought frustrations with, like I said, creativity, past life issues, spiritual issues as well, feeling blocked spiritually or feeling just sort of frustrated with your spiritual life in some way. Maybe frustrated with not being able to travel or international things that have been sort of frustrated, maybe you ordered an Astro wheel from me and it's taken ages to get there because of the post. International sort of communications have been, might have been restricted under that new moon. Who knows? But these are the realms of the 12th house. As I said, healing and spirituality, being able to escape, being able to have some time out, being able to, travel, go on holidays, that sort of thing, deal with international sort of circumstances. These are the things that could have caused frustration if you're Gemini rising. But the good news is that we are having a fruition this week of this energy. It's reaching its fullness, it's reaching its end, and hopefully we've been dealing with it wisely, graciously over the 2-week period, so that now we can wrap it all up under this full moon fruition influence with grace. Now, one of the ways that we can end these issues that arose for us back 2 weeks ago is to now focus on the energy of Neptune, which is sending these healthy, helpful, supportive aspects to the new moon. So what does that mean? It means using our compassion, using our forgiveness, using our unconditional love to resolve issues. That might be issues towards yourself. Maybe you've been angry at yourself for something. And just realizing, okay, it might be a past life thing. Let me process it. Let me heal it. Scorpio energy is to do therapy. You might want to do that. To heal and restore what was wounded, what came up for you now through compassion. Now, we also need to trust our intuition at this time. Neptune is highly intuitive. So intuition will be switched on. Trust your dreams, trust omens, trust your visualizations that you get when you're meditating and so on. Trust those things and use them as guides, as messages from the divine. You might also get fated events, people entering your life, fated circumstances that give you the chance to heal and resolve and move forward. So that is the energy of the full moon, which is compassionate, healing and loving, and it can bring a lot of blessing for us this week if we work with that Neptune energy. So if we are Cancer rising people, well, this energy of the new moon fell last week. Let me get that on the right angle. There we are. Cancer, rising sun or moon people, the energy of the new moon fell for you in the 11th house, 5th house axis. And so in the 11th house is where you had the new moon 2 weeks ago. And it was intense and it was yucky and it was full of angst and frustration. And so you might have felt that with friends. You might have been absolutely pissed off by your friends or some group that you belong to, some social group or a humanitarian group or a political group, whatever, might have absolutely rubbed you the wrong way and you lost your shit under the new moon. It was a tense energy. It was highly charged. It was frustrated. So you might have absolutely, had these issues bubble up around those things. Friendships and even your goals and dreams might have come under pressure. You might have been put in the pressure cooker. Am I going to be able to achieve what I want? Am I going to be able to get the rewards that I thought I should have, by now? And so frustrations under the new moon. Now, what is happening is 2 weeks later, we reach the fullness of that energy. Now is our chance to resolve those frustrations, to heal those wounds, to heal those influences that caused us to sort of lose it 2 weeks ago. So this is a chance for healing. Scorpio is actually a very healing energy, the water sign. So how do we do this though? How do we best work with this energy to resolve wounds and hurts and heal things? Well, we use Neptune. Neptune is sending these helpful aspects to the new moon the full moon influence. And so Neptune is going to be able to be the energy that we call on to heal things right now. Show compassion, show unconditional love, show forgiveness, show kindness. And you can expect that you will receive those things as well at this time under this energy of Neptune. Not only that, but we will get support from the divine. Neptune is divine, angelic influence. So trust your dreams, trust omens. Look out for those, those signals from the universe, those fated events from the universe that are guiding you in the choices that you make to help resolve this in the best way possible, to help resolve those frustrations and hurts in the best way possible. So Neptune's going to give you the capacity to do that. You might be meditating and suddenly a vision comes to you. So visions and Doing yoga, doing spiritual practice can be a source where you suddenly get the inspiration and the intuitive psychic download for how to resolve a situation, how to heal a situation, how to send love. So trust those moments as they rise up for you this week, Cancer rising people, because they are the guidance from the universe to move through this new moon energy that we had to all go through, to learn something, to grow something, to put boundaries in place, to learn more about ourselves. It's had a purpose, but now it's time to heal it and move on. Leo, that's me. Leo rising. No, I'm not Leo rising, I'm Leo sun. Leo's sun, moon or rising sign, you can take either one. Look at all three if you need to, and get something out of each of these. But for you guys, the new moon and full moon is falling on the 10th house, 4th house axis. So 2 weeks ago you had a new moon falling in Taurus, your 10th house. There will have been some tension, some aggression, some frustration that probably cropped up for you in the realm of career, the worldly achievements that you were wanting to undertake, what you wanted to be known for and recognized for. You might have experienced some jealousies around, how other people were succeeding and you're not. There might have been sort of tearing your hair out, feeling frustrated over some career circumstances. Maybe people were being bullying towards you, or running you down, or maligning your reputation, or there could have been so many different ways that you might have experienced frustration or blockage or restriction in your life that sent you a little bit nuts, might have caused a volatile reaction in some way that was just not like your ordinary self. That may have happened for you 2 weeks ago. Could have also been a run-in with an authority figure in this house, some sort of person in charge. Now, 2 weeks later, we're reaching the fruition, the full moon, finalization of what happened 2 weeks ago. We get a chance to resolve it, heal it, renew it, and move on with our lives. So there's a lot of healing that can happen now out of this. And the way we can heal it with the highest level of integrity is to channel Neptune energy, which is making beautiful aspects to this full moon. So what we can do is, just catching my thoughts there. What we can do is practice compassion, practice unconditional love, give kindness, and that we do that through our words, through our actions as well, where we go and resolve a situation with a kind word or forgiveness. These sorts of things are very helpful right now. Not only that, but we're going to get divine help, fated assistance right now that occurs for us. So by that I mean, somebody might come into your life that helps you resolve a situation. There might be a circumstance that arises completely out of the blue, magically, Neptune is magic, magically arises that heals a situation that was tense and volatile. You can get inspiration as well. You might have a dream at night that tells you, a message from the divine on how to heal a situation, how to resolve a situation. Trust it if you get that. If you're meditating and you see something in your visions, use it as a guide, use it as support, because your messages from the divine under the influence of this full moon are going to be very strong and powerful, and we need to listen to them and trust them and run with them. So unconditional love, intuition, compassion, support from the divine, fated events coming your way, all of this stuff is going to help you now to resolve what occurred 2 weeks ago that needs healing. Virgo rising people, or sun, or moon, you can take any one you like. You can look at all three. Well, this new moon and subsequent full moon have fallen on the axis for you guys of the 3rd house, 9th house. What this has meant for you is that 2 weeks ago we had a new moon in your 9th house, and that's where we felt volatility, frustration, aggression, anger that just came out of nowhere unexpectedly. Frustrating events that resulted in our emotions being, charged, fired up. This happened for you guys in realms to do with higher learning. Maybe, your ability to get into a university course, or something went wrong with your university course, or you wanted to study online with something and it just didn't work for you. Whatever the circumstance with higher learning was, there was a frustration there, an irritation there. It could also have been a frustration with travel, international dealings, cultural dealings that were just sending you bonkers, and aren't we all seeing that happening right now? So it could have been an area like that absolutely tipped you over the edge. It's also the ninth house of inspirational figures, mentors, gurus. So you might have had someone who you thought was a benefactor and they turned out not to be really having your back. Or you might have, had your faith pinned in a guru and they turned out to be not as nice as what you thought they were. So you can have had some sort of, not disappointment, but a sense of anger, a sense of frustration, a sense of volatility around mentors and so forth that might have cropped up for you that caused some wounding. Now, under the influence of the full moon, falling in the sign of Scorpio, you get the chance to resolve this, heal this, finalize whatever wound occurred 2 weeks ago and heal it. And how do we do that? Well, we do it through this supportive aspect from Neptune, which is sending helpful influences to the moon and to the sun. So Neptune is the energy of compassion. By showing compassion to the person who wounded you, by showing kindness to the situation, or patience with the situation, or unconditional love for whatever circumstance caused the volatility in the beginning. That's where you can use Neptune healing. So not only that, you can show some sensitivity to how other people are feeling in this regard as well. Compassion, like I said. But intuition now, you can get an intuitive insight into how to deal with a problem. That can come through, maybe you're meditating one day and you get a vision of, if I did this, then that would resolve everything. Or you might have a dream at night that guides you with how to heal, how to resolve that wound within you. You can also have support from the divine that occurs, not only intuitive messages from the divine, but fated events and circumstances and people that come into your life now that heal and resolve the situation, that allow you to take steps to make amends or so forth. So it can be very blessed under this Neptunian influence of healing and compassion, using sensitive words. So as I said, intuition, fated events, compassion and unconditional love and kindness. These are the ways to heal those wounds from 2 weeks ago. You've got to realize what it was that happened 2 weeks ago that needs the healing now, and then channel that Neptune energy into it. Under this full moon influence, you can see it finalize and heal, and you move on with your life. All right, so Libran people, okay, we're nearly at the end. Goodness, that was a quick spin around this week, keeping it moving. Probably I need to, because I've got a lot of readings to do. So Libran people, there we are. For Libran people, this new moon 2 weeks ago, you can use Libran rising, sun or moon, and 2 weeks ago you had a new moon falling in your 8th house. And this was the realm of life that would have been activated with a sense of frustration and anger, maybe aggression, things that happened suddenly out of the blue that absolutely threw your world into chaos, that you've now been dealing with for the last 2 weeks. So what was it that occurred for you 2 weeks ago in that realm that caused some stress, some struggle, some frustration? Well, in the 8th house, it could be to do with a legacy, a will, receiving money, or a communal property that caused an issue for you in some way 2 weeks ago under the new moon. It could have also been something hidden, something mysterious that came up and surprised you and caused you to struggle. Could have been a crisis event, suddenly, you might have had an issue with the plumbing, and of course all the plumbers are not working as much because of lockdown, and you had this plumbing issue, oh my God. That could have been a circumstance we would see with the 8th house. So for Libra rising people, there might have been some 8th house issue. It could have been to do with secrets being uncovered, divorces, issues with intimacy that might have been exacerbated or frustrated in some way. Like I said, divorces and divorce proceedings might have been sort of under some sort of irritation of something. These things might have cropped up for you 2 weeks ago under the influence of the new moon, and you might have acted rashly or dealt with something in a way that was frustrated or irritable or whatever. But we are reaching the fullness now of that energy as we hit the full moon in Scorpio. It's reaching the fruition, the end, the fullness of whatever issue arose for us 2 weeks ago. It's concluding or like I said, reaching its fullness. That is happening under this full moon. And so we have the chance now to heal whatever was exacerbated 2 weeks ago, to resolve it, to finalize it, to put an end to it and move on with our life. And how do we do that at the best possible level? Well, we channel Neptune energy, because Neptune is sending these beautiful supportive aspects to this full moon. So what does this mean? Well, it means that we can heal whatever wound occurred by acting with compassion, with unconditional love, with kindness. These are the higher octave energies of Neptune. That is how we heal and resolve those wounds that occurred to us or that we gave out to others 2 weeks ago. So compassion, kindness, unconditional love. That's one thing. We can now also receive fated events where magical things, Neptune is magic, magical opportunities step into our lives. Maybe people come our way, fated events, magical fated circumstances that just poof, they happen and heal and resolve the wound. So we can expect magic at this time. We can also expect support from the divine, and really that's what magic is, where the universe says, no, hang on a minute, let me just step in here. And so we get this support from the divine through these fated events, but it also can be a time of significant psychic downloads and inspiration. And what this means is that when we are meditating in the mornings, we get a vision. Aha, there's the answer. There's the solution right there in that vision that you've had. That's our intuitive self, our psychic self really switched on at this time. We might have a dream at night. Neptune rules dreams. We might have a dream at night, and through dreaming we see a solution, an answer emerge that is a message from spirit on how to deal with a certain topic. So we can get that happening through dreams, visualizations, our spiritual practice, whatever that happens to be, can be the source of insight and psychic knowledge that helps us to heal a certain situation. Use your sensitive words. Mercury up here is how we speak, and Neptune is sensitivity and compassion. Use sensitive words to heal a situation. Use kindness and use your intuition and use your, psychic downloads. Also watch out for omens and fated events. These are the ways that we resolve whatever issue arose, we heal it, and we move forward and on with our lives to live the best life possible. And don't we all want that? So that is the round trip around the zodiac, looking at each of the signs and what will be unfolding and how we can best work with the energy under this full moon. Thanks so much for joining me. I always close with a little prayer to sort of channel the energy of love in the universe. So join me for that. Energy of love, we just thank you for the lessons learned under this new moon process that occurred 2 weeks ago. I know it hasn't been easy for me, and for a lot of my viewers and my clients, it's been a bit of a struggle. But thank you that everything has purpose. Thank you that there is a reason behind our struggles and our lessons to help us grow, to help us achieve wisdom and maturity. And it's my prayer for myself and for all my viewers that through this full moon process now in Scorpio, that we heal, that we provide the antidote, that we have the therapy. Show us what we need to do. Guide us, send us the divine inspiration, the divine wisdom and knowledge that we need to put into our difficult hurts and wounds and situations of volatility so that we can heal and live full lives. Thank you for this beautiful full moon that's about to occur. And so it is. Thank you for joining me, and I'll have another Astro Weather Report for you next week.